Music is...
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa. I am a multimedia anime content creator, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. On this show, I interview your favorite anime content creators, voice actors, and other notable figures from the anime industry. Let's talk, y'all, because I am going through it, and this is of my own doing, my own fault. But let's talk quick. So, as you guys know, I am a very, very emotional person, and I feel like this weekend that just passed, like I was doing the most with my emotions and just watching stuff that was getting me messed up. So first of all, as many of you guys know, if you follow me on social media, I love watching anime and tweeting anime. I feel like I have some of the best anime live tweet threads. I just love commentating on anime. Like, I think it's so fun to tell people exactly what I'm going through while I'm watching the show. And I bring that up because I've actually been watching an anime that I really haven't tweeted about because it completely, engrossed me so much that I couldn't even process things, and then I had no desire to talk about them. I just wanted to take everything in. And that is Bungo Stray Dogs. Listen, I've heard about Bungo Stray Dogs probably for, a couple years now, and it was always something that just the name, I thought it was cool. I never looked into it, never read a synopsis, nothing. I'm that girl. I don't be looking into stuff. So when it was announced a couple weeks ago that the 4th season was coming out in 2022, I was like, well, this is a perfect time to check out this show, see what it is about, because a lot of people on my timeline were excited, and I'm always down to try new things, especially when it comes to anime. Yes, I'm your slice of life girl. Give me that romance, give me that shoujo, but I also am just interested in so many different genres. I don't limit what I watch. So with Bungo Stray Dogs, I put on an episode with a friend. I thought it was actually really good, and then I've been hooked ever since. So I saw the last 2 seasons. I saw season 1 and 2, and I am working on season 3, but y'all, I was not prepared. I told you, I didn't look anything up, and I thought this show was just fun times and action, comedy, and there have been some stuff that's just been hitting my emotions. Why am I crying? Why am I crying during Bungo Stray Dogs? Am I the only one? Are other people experiencing this? I don't know, but I just want to talk about it because I am so obsessed with it right now, and I just have season 3 left, and I've been I already saw the first 3 episodes, and I just don't want to keep going because then I'm going to have nothing else to watch in terms of the Bungo Stray Dog universe. Although there is the limited short series, Bungo Stray Dogs WAN, or WAN. I'm going to watch that. But then I'm going to have to wait for season 4. I just didn't really think that it was going to hit me this way. And I love it so, so much. So if you want to talk about Bungo Stray Dogs without spoiling stuff for me, hit me up because I'm in my feels. I'm also in my feels because this weekend, so you guys know this about me, right? I don't rewatch anime. I don't rewatch anything. There's just certain things that I have really good memory. I don't find the need to rewatch stuff, except for this year. I've been going in on rewatching stuff. And for some reason, I decided to torture myself and rewatch Given because I'm obsessed with Given. And then I rewatched the Given movie. And I'm like, y'all, I really want to talk about this because I have so many feels. I think I already did a Given video. I think I'm going to do a second video where I deep dive into the movie because I just have so many feels about Kaji and Haruki's relationship. And the first time that I watched the movie, I was very emotional, and I was looking at it from a certain perspective. And by the time I had watched the movie, I had finished the anime and some time had passed. This is the first time I immediately jumped from the anime right into the movie. And I picked up on some different things, and I'm just in my feels about it. And I think I'm going to do a video talking about it. But I just want to catch y'all up on what I'm watching before we get into this week's episode. This week on the podcast, I'm joined by the amazing Ariana. Ariana is a full-time college student, part-time online voice actor, and she can be heard in indie video games such as Astoria Legends, Red Moon, Sand of Ara, Hanako's Flower Shop, and Penthos. She is a criminology major, and she's hoping to pursue a career professionally in voice acting. And she's a big lover of Xenoblade Chronicles series. I met Ariana on Twitter and we just hit it off because we had a love of Inumaki from Jujutsu Kaisen, which you will hear us fangirl over on this episode. And I just thought it was so awesome that she's a college student. She does voice acting on the side. And as somebody who's, she's coming up as a voice actor, and a lot of voice actors that we are seeing now break out into the anime industry have gone from like indie video games to major video games and still do video game voice acting while doing anime voice acting. And I wanted to get her on the show to have that perspective. And we just had a really amazing combo, not just about voice acting, but, dealing with rejection and how cutthroat the industry can be, and kind of just doing all these things while still being a college student and managing her life. This is such an amazing episode, and I'm so grateful for Ariana for joining me and giving us this insight. And if you're somebody who is interested in voice acting, you don't know how to start off, this is a great episode. She has a lot of resources that she mentions, and, if you are interested in it, I think this is a great place to start. If you enjoy this episode, please be sure to share on social medias using the hashtag TWOApod. That lets me know that you're listening to the podcast. And the hashtag PODIN. It is a hashtag that lets other people of color know that you're listening to a podcast from a person of color. Thank you guys so much for listening to this show, and I hope that you enjoy this week's episode. First question I always like to ask my guests is, who are you? Like, introduce yourself in your own terms or your own bio, what you say when somebody's like, who are you?
Oh my God. All right. Hi, my name is Ariana Rosario. I also go by Lucari online as an alias, and I am a voice actress, general nerd. I just scream a lot on Twitter and people seem to like it. I'm 19 years old. I've been voice acting for 3 years. I'm currently a sophomore in college. And my one long life goal is to voice in a Xenoblade Chronicles game. That's probably like my biggest goal.
Oh my God, you're such a baby. I know, I hate when people are like, you're such a baby. I think you were 19, but that's okay. That is so awesome that you've been voice acting for 3 years. So before we get into the voice acting, I always like to start off with your weeb journey. What has your, especially since we're almost like a decade apart in age, I'm very curious into what was your entry point into weeb life, your first anime that you watched, like what kind of put you where you are now?
Okay. So in that regard, I will fully admit a lot of my childhood was video games before I got into anime, but my big brother, he was a really big anime nut. Like, he got into it from like our cousin, and he was really big on Naruto. Like, when I say big, I mean big. Like, he knew like all the hand signs for fireball jutsu. Like, he was a weeb. And he always tried to get me into Naruto, and I used to watch him play Ninja Storm a lot when I was little. Funnily enough, I think there was one time I was like 6 or 7 or something, and my brother was playing Ninja Storm, and there was like the special like final jutsu that Itachi does, where like he like swallows his opponent in like the Sharingan, and I swear I lost my mind. I got so scared I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. But I think he tried to get me into Naruto a couple times, and I remember distinctly I watched about like half of the first series of Naruto, and then I kind of fell off. And then around my like 8th grade year of middle school, my freshman year of high school, my brother got me into anime again, but I think he tried with Fairy Tail, because he was like, I feel like you'd like this a little bit more because it's fantasy. It's a lot like I guess more like bright and poppy or whatever compared to Naruto. So got into Fairy Tail, and that was like the first long running shonen that I watched. From there, I got unintentionally really hooked. So I think immediately after I finished Fairy Tail, I like binged watch SAO, Full Metal Alchemist. I think I did come back to Naruto, like the first series. I still haven't watched Shippuden yet, but like SAO, Naruto. I think Black Butler was up there. There was like one more that was like really crazy about, but I can't. Noragami. Noragami is still one of my favorite shows. But and then I just segued from there. I think as I started getting like deeper into high school, I met like a couple friends that were also into anime, so they always gave me recommendations, and then it just evolved, and now I'm been watching it, for like been watching it consistently since freshman year, so about like 5 years now, 5, 6 years now. And oh boy, 2D men.
I just love that your brother was like, I'm gonna make you an anime. You're gonna freaking watch this. How apart are you guys in age?
7 years.
If I had a younger sibling, they would be a total weeb. I would be heartbroken and disown them if they were not.
Oh my god,
But
honestly.
that's so cute. I've never seen Naruto.
Really?
It's not in the cards. It's so funny too because I like love buying Naruto shirts, and then I love when people are like, "Oh my god, Naruto," and I was like, "Oh, never seen it." Like, I'm familiar with a lot of Naruto. Just you cannot be online and
And
not be
not know
familiar
about
with.
Naruto.
It's
Yeah.
just part. It's just part of the culture. But
Hmm.
I think I tried maybe last year, and I saw like the first 2, 3 episodes of the first part, and then
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh, there's 200 more of these bitches."
Honestly, the exact reason why I can't finish Shippuden. Like, I get the first 13 episodes and I'm like, nah, I got like 700 shits left to go.
And especially if you're someone like I obviously been watching like anime almost all my life, I would say. And
Mhm.
I'm really like a 12, 24.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Hmm.
not here. I think the longest anime that I've watched is like Attack on Titan and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Hmm.
And like those are like at 60 right now. Attack on Titan is like 70. It's probably about to be
Hmm.
80 total or something like that. But
Hmm.
that's it. I don't
Yeah.
got it. I do One Piece 1,000 episodes?
Oh
No.
no, One Piece is like One Piece and JoJo's are the two shows that I refuse to touch whatsoever. One Piece because it's too long, and JoJo's just because the art style scares me.
I also feel that way about JoJo's. And like I love seeing like stills of like the show and stuff or like manga
Hmm.
panels. But I like somebody showed me a scene that was hilarious. And I'm just like, is it time for me? I feel like it's not my time yet. I feel like maybe I'm gonna get there was gonna be the time for me.
Hmm.
It definitely is like incredible. But I love that your consistent weeb journey started 5 years ago. What was I doing 5 years ago? I probably was. I've gone through phases where like I
Yeah.
always watch anime, but like I think this is the most where I'm like watching seasonal. I got 3 shows I'm like watching periodically. And I've always like read manga and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But that is so awesome. So what inspired then your want to get into voice acting?
Um, so hilariously enough, following the whole fairy tale thing, because fairy tale was my first like actual finished one, I think I was like stumbling on YouTube and I found this video. It's like a 15-minute video. It's still on YouTube now. I think it's like titled "Being Lucy" with Cher Millet, who is the English voice actress for Lucy. And at the time, I knew absolutely nothing about voice acting. I knew nothing about like the anime side of voice acting whatsoever. But I remember I watched the video and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, that's so interesting. Ironically, though, it didn't click in my head that, like, maybe I could try that. So it was kind of just one of those things where, like, you saw it and you admired it and you thought it was really cool, but, like, it didn't click in your head that you could try to do it too. So I think it was that video. Like, I remember watching, like, a lot of, like voice actor panels from like conventions and stuff because I was still like 14, 15. So like the closest convention I think at the time was like Anime Next in Atlantic City. And again, I was really young, so it's not like my mom's gonna let me go to Atlantic City all by myself. But it was like that. And I think the first convention I went to was Anime NYC when it started in 2017, if my memory serves me right. And then I think I went to a couple panels there that really really opened my eyes to the whole thing. But I still ironically didn't start until summer of 2018. So it was kind of just one of those things that sat in the back of your head until you finally come to a point where it's like, maybe I will try it. And then I bought a $11 mic, this tiny little it's the things you see in like little interview videos you see on TikTok, like those tiny things. Bought one of those, and with no knowledge of anything whatsoever, I just sat down on my bed. I pulled up whatever recording software I could find on my really crappy old Mac, and then I recorded my first audition, and it was history from there.
I love that. And I feel like I love when people share, like, I bought this $10 thing, because I'm always somebody that's like, start where you are and with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like so many people are like, I got to get the best mic ever. And it's like,
God.
you just keep delaying the process if you
Mm-hmm.
don't just start with what you can afford. Because
Exactly.
talent is going to shine, whether you recording directly on your iPhone, whether you're using like a state of the art
Mm-hmm.
equipment. Were you interested in like any acting? Did you do theater or anything as a kid?
No, that's the funniest thing. I always think back on it. I was like, man, it's crazy that I never really got into like theater as a aspect. But at least for me, a lot of my childhood, I loved video games, and I also loved watching like YouTubers that would let's play games. So a lot of the time, anytime they would play games, they would usually like voice the dialogue. So I kind of picked up the habit from watching them a lot. And anytime I would play, I would usually like voice the characters out loud. And I think probably the most substantial one, or like the most impactful for me, would probably be Midna from Zelda Twilight Princess, which is like one of my favorite Zelda games. And I think it was like from there that, again, like it planted the seed, and the seed didn't grow until like later on. But like I've always kind of had a history of like, making up characters and like, just acting in a way that wasn't really conventional. And I guess that basis really shot me forward to when I actually started giving it a try.
I love that. And it's funny too, because I'm somebody that's always played video games too. But I'm trying to think back if like any of the video games, because I don't really play like RPGs or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I'm like, did any of the games that I played, like Mario, he just been making Mario sound. Nobody else be talking. So
Yeah.
I'm like, was there voice acting in Pokemon? Which there wasn't, but there is definitely this whole world. A lot of people think voice acting is just like anime or animation, but then there's video games. I think like otome games, visual novels, like all of these, especially now that they're so increasingly popular, that the
Exactly.
voice acting in them is just like people, those are viable like voice acting roles. So you get this audition ready. Do you just search online for like voice acting opportunities, or how kind of did you were like, I'm just gonna throw whatever and see what sticks?
This is following my trend of knowing things but not trying them until later. Around like 14, 15, I stumbled across this website called Casting Call Club, which is basically like, I like to attribute it as like the beginner-friendly version of voice acting. So you have a bunch of projects on there, mostly fan dubs and like fan projects and stuff. And, you have the option to record auditions. And I think for me, my first one was this Danganronpa project. That was like an audio Tumblr Ask blog thing around the time that Tumblr was still popular. So they were looking for Hiyoko Sayanji from Danganronpa 2. And I was just in the midst of my Danganronpa phase at the time. So I was like, oh my God, I have to do it. And like, you could probably still find it if you look it up, but it's just 16-year-old me, like in my bed, holding this microphone, and I'm just pretending to sound like how Hiyoko sounds like. And Hiyoko's like really high pitched. She's voiced by Kira Buckland, and it's like this really high and like squealy voice, and she's like such a bitch too. So it's like, it was the weirdest first audition because it already had a lot of life and a lot of personality. She wasn't just like a standard pro tag or anything like that. She had a lot of depth. So I think I think it was from there. Casting Call Club is where I met a lot of my friends that I'm still friends with now. They're absolute family to me. I love them to death. And then it just kind of transitions from Casting Call Club to now I mainly audition for things from Twitter. I'm also a part of some talent pools that send me auditions periodically, and there's a lot of other cool avenues to find auditions, like I think his name is Edward Hong. He's the creator of the People of Grand Majority list, and it's basically this big collective list of POC voice actors, POC actors, basically, and it gets sent out to like a bunch of different people. I know Disney has it, Nickelodeon, a bunch of anime studios have it, and basically they can pick whatever, POC actors that they want, send them auditions, et cetera, and it's kind of just something that builds on itself as you continue to do it more and more.
That is the one thing I feel like I love about social media in general, is that now there are so many ways of connecting and like finding people. And I've said this before, because I'm somebody that I grew up watching just exclusively dub. I would not watch sub. The only time I would ever watch sub was like if there just wasn't a dub available and I'm like watching it on YouTube or something. But during that time period, it was like early 2000s, like when I was in my teens, there were the same voice actors for every project. And obviously they're talented. They're the OGs in this industry. But when you only listen to dub, you're like, okay, I know exactly who this is. You voice X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
So now I love this era that we're in where it's so diverse. You're seeing voice actors that look like you, similar backgrounds as you, and then you're seeing them interact and connect on Twitter and just help each other out. And I just love this, like for someone like you who's jumping into this industry now, like so many resources, so many, you can find jobs on Twitter because people are sharing that. And it's like, that's when people talk about like social media or like anime on Twitter, I'm like, there's such a positive community out there because everyone's genuinely just trying to help each other.
Exactly. 100%.
It is just so like awesome to see. And I'm curious, because I'm Dominican. So I'm, Dominican, we know each other. How does your family feel about you voice acting? Do they know about like anime and stuff? Because my parents, they'd be like, "Oh, someone Yukito." Like they don't, they just know they come to my house and all they see is like manga and stuff. And like, okay.
It's pretty much the same in my avenue. I think I lucked out a little bit more because my brother also was involved in it. So my mom kind of signed her fate the second she saw like, my brother trying to get me into it. And then when I did eventually get into it, she's like, she's just doing that thing like her brother. But I think I know my first year of voice acting, I didn't really talk about it too openly. It was kind of just because in my head it was really a hobby. I didn't really pay it too much mind, and I didn't really consider it as like a future viable career. At that point, I was like halfway through high school. I was kind of convinced that I was going to go to college, go to law school afterward, become a lawyer. And then I think probably like my second and a half year, like probably like midway through 2019, 2020, it kind of just like, it hit in one of those things that, maybe I could do this for the rest of my life and be happy with it. And I think it was kind of that shift around like summer of 2020, especially when I recorded my first demo reel. And it was this really big moment for me because I was like, yeah, no, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like I want to have this as a career. So I was open and honest with my parents about it, and they are so damn supportive. I could not thank them enough. There's, obviously a little tension in regards to, because, I'm still in college and I'm currently doing voice acting as mainly freelance. So that's my main source of income as of right now. It's been viable, just not consistent. But I know my mom has nothing but support for me. Like, hell, I don't know if I can, like, tilt my camera. This beauty up here, it's the Neumann TLM 103. It's basically industry standard microphone. It's like $1,100 plus like the little thing that holds it, which is like an extra $400. Yeah, no, my parents got me that for my birthday, and like they 100% told me straight up. They were like, "Hey, anything that you need for this, like we are willing to help you because we know how much you love this, and we know that you're good at this. So you're good at this. So we wanna support you in any way we can." And I'm just eternally grateful to them. absolutely grateful.
That is so amazing. I'm like tearing up. I love that. And I especially too, like when your parents, like they're not too familiar with that, for them to just like believe in you and see how serious you are about that, and they're investing in you because they know, like in
Hmm.
their hearts, they know like you're going to be successful with this and make
Hmm.
a career out of this. That is just so, I love them so much. I'm giving them a virtual hug.
I love them. I love them so much.
It's just so awesome to see. So it's awesome that you have that support. Now, in your, do you have mostly like voice actor friends, or your friends kind of doing similar things, or do you have like kind of like a diverse pool of friends in that way?
I feel like, well, okay, it's kind of weird because I separate them in regards to the friends that I have in my hometown and then the friends that I've made online through voice acting. I definitely have a lot more of this compared to this, but at least recently, since I've been a lot more open about me voice acting as a career, I've been telling a lot of my hometown friends about it, and they've just been as completely as supportive, and I'm really grateful for them. But a good majority of my hype house is my voice acting friends that I've made online. Absolutely love them all to death. Would not be anywhere near where I am without them. Off the top of my head, Red Velvet VA. She's probably been like my biggest inspiration slash guiding force, at Shardivore on Twitter. But she has directed my past demo, and she currently directed the demo that is coming out in the near future. I'm waiting for it to get mixed, but she has probably been like my biggest influence. It's the Pinoy Boy on Twitter, who's like a little rival for me. Same thing with Paxton Lee. Just a bunch of beautiful people that I love to death, and I would not be where I am without them, in regards to just how much they've taught me, how much they support me, and just having that connection is just absolutely monumental for me, honestly.
And I feel like that just kind of goes to speak of like how important it is with your circle, and like having people who are in the same lanes, but it's not like you're competing. It's like we all eat together. 'Cause I
Exactly.
think, and I had this conversation with Mark Allen Jr. when I had him on my podcast last year
Hmm.
about like this new industry of voice actors where like everyone's helping each other out, and everyone's
Hmm.
like, there's a cast announcement. Every single one of them is like retweeting, like, yay,
Yep.
congrats. And it's like that makes such a huge difference, because whether it's anime or, real
Hmm.
life stuff, meaning like other jobs,
Hmm.
it's like without that support system, like it can be hard, and it can be lonely,
Exactly.
and it's something that's very competitive as it is.
Hmm.
So to have like that core group of people that are helping you with your demo or putting you on to opportunities, like that's priceless to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% would not be anywhere without the people that have come in and out of my life. I'm eternally thankful to them. I will never forget them. And, just it's so funny because they always joke around with me. They're like, oh, like, don't forget us when you're famous. I'm like, hell no, I'm bringing you up with me. The fuck? Like,
We all
we're all
eat
eating
together.
together.
Yes, that's so I don't know. I feel like I always think I'm of the mindset like further, we go together further. Like you can
Mm,
go by yourself, but when you're with other people, like you just go further.
hmm.
And then it's always like you could put somebody else on. Like maybe I'm not right for this role, but I know X, Y, and Z might do
Exactly.
it, kill it better, or there's an opening
Exactly.
somewhere. I just think we do a disservice when we're like, nah, I'm gonna be by myself.
Yeah,
It's like you're
it's
stunting yourself.
exactly. And it doesn't help you out in the long run because connections are everything. Regardless of if it's in voice acting or, whatever you're doing, connections are everything. So if, you're just being selfish and keeping everything to yourself, you're not going to get far.
I completely agree. And I feel like my parents always kind of raised me with this mindset like, give because you're only just going to get more in return.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like some of the connections I've made just being a content creator, and some of the opportunities that I've like had my way, and people like who are maybe a couple steps ahead of me, like
Mm-hmm.
vouching or being like, hey, like take a look at this person. It's like it makes a world of a difference. One email, CCing somebody on an email, like that is to me. And I always try to tell people like, regardless of the industry, because the unfortunate reality is that a lot of things, no matter what industry it is who you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have an in, or if you don't have a connection, or sometimes it's just like that one person vouching for you and saying, yo, I know them, I worked with
Yep.
them on XYZ. Like the unfortunate reality is that is so needed, because sometimes without that,
Mm-hmm.
you can't even get to the door. it's just, I always say like stuff like that is just so important to keep in mind when you're trying to do anything, because that's only going to help you further. As much as you think it's taken away from you, like it doesn't take away from you at all. It just increases your value.
Exactly.
So being that you're also in school and you're doing this voice acting, how do you manage? Because obviously being in school is hard enough already. Like, what does your schedule look like? Because you're doing a lot of freelance work with voice acting. Like, how do you manage that? Because that's a lot.
I think, okay, at least in regards to this semester. Well, no, last year was definitely a lot easier because everything was still online, so I didn't really have to move much. But this past semester, I have everything's been on campus. So, and I'm a commuter. My school's about like 40 minutes from where I live. So, I think for me, it just sort of works out that my schedule usually, or my school schedule at least, usually ends around like 2, 3 p.m. So traffic be willing, I'm usually home around like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So from there, I usually sit down, try to get as much work in as I can. At least recently, I've been using Notion a lot to keep myself organized. So I have a to-do list of like assignments that I have to do, and especially with how my classes are set up, it's very easy for me to categorize them based on like, all right, so this is what I need to do, whether I need to do a reading or whether or not I need to, buckle down and start doing a project. I will admit I procrastinate a little too much than I should, but it's a good basis to start with, and I'm always kind of conscious of what I have to do next, and it works out because I usually record at night, since one, it's usually quieter, two, I can just, by then I'm kind of in my zone mentally because I've kind of transitioned myself to recording at night. And it's usually with that, I'll typically have like auditions set up. Like I like to do them in bulk. So there will be some nights I'll either do like 5 at a time. I think there was one that I did, like one night I did like 16 or 17 auditions in one night. And I breezed through them within like a good like hour and a half, 2 hours. So it doesn't really take much time once I get into the zone. It's just a matter of like how my time flip-flops. I know definitely recently with the closing end of the semester, it's been a little hectic, but I've been trying to keep my head on.
I love Notion. Just shout out to Notion. Like I use that for my content creating, and like I'm a to-do list person, so I need to see stuff visually, or if I have ideas for videos. So I second the use of Notion. But I love that, you get your important stuff kind of out of the way, and then you do what needs to be done at night. 16 auditions, that is insane. How long typically are auditions?
Typically it depends, because the majority of them that at least that I've seen, usually they're between 2 to like 5 lines that they want you to record. And for me personally, I kind of have this philosophy that, I usually try to stay at least like 5 to 10 minutes on every audition, because the more time that you waste on it, the more you overthink it. And the more you overthink it, the more you get attached to it. The more you get attached to it, the more it hurts you when you don't get cast. So it's very much in my head, it's kind of just to give everything I have for those 5-10 minutes for that one character, like have the file ready, then move on to the next. And then it's just a complete cycle. So I try not to get myself too hung up on anything, because because at least with voice acting, we're very much sort of trained to have this very fire and forget mentality, where, you record your auditions, you give it the best you can within that audition, you send it, and then you forget it ever existed. And it saves you so much sanity, because this line of work is very rejection heavy. I think I haven't done my stats yet for this past year, but I know I've done a good, like, probably close to like 100 auditions this past year. Just a random number I'm throwing out there. I haven't counted yet. But I think out of, like, let's say 100, I've probably booked, like, 7 or 8. So it's, like, it's a very harsh ratio. So the easier you get into the mentality of just, giving your all and then forgetting about it afterward, the easier it is, because you just sort of have this idea of, okay, I didn't get this. All right, let's just move on to the next audition, as opposed to, getting too attached, and then it breaks you down a little bit. It hurts sometimes when you're not cast for, a character that you thought you did really well for. But it's just, you got to keep moving. There's no there's no time in this industry to really sit down and sulk. It's very much a you just got to keep moving, because if you stop, then you're losing out on opportunities.
That's such a great mentality to have. And I feel like that really should be applied to anything, because I'm a firm believer, like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And you begging, crying, whatever, like,
Exactly.
you just not it's just not going to work out. And so things don't miss you by accident. And I think it is like, any entertainment industry in general, it is very rejection heavy. And it's
Hmm.
like, if you just focus on those rejections, like, you're just going to beat yourself down, you're going to get
Exactly.
unmotivated, you're not going to do well on the next audition. And I love what you said about getting attached to characters,
Hmm.
because I think, voice actor or not, like, we all have people that we get attached to. and,
Yeah.
and like, sometimes we as people, like, especially if you're like a visual person, like, you are like thinking like already, you don't have anything booked or whatever, and you're already imagining the next step.
Exactly.
Like, you're like interviewing for a job and you're like, I can't wait to be working at this job, and it's like, girl, you just did the interview.
Exactly.
I feel like that is in life. Like, I try to be not as attached to things or
Hmm.
ideas or concept, because it's like, in one moment it can escape you, and then
Exactly.
you're on to the next.
Hmm. Yeah, especially at least for me, I like to have visual when it comes to characters, and I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, but I have this thing where I'm trying to garner a character wall of only silver-haired slash white-haired characters, since probably my favorite trope in like any piece of media ever. So for me especially, it's kind of hard to like click on that mentality sometimes, because I'll look at like character slides and I'm like, oh my god, she has white hair, like I'd kill to voice her. But then it's just it's always just constantly reminding yourself that, your time is coming. It's, I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. So, if you didn't get this role, that just means that, there's another role coming for you, or you just weren't meant for that role. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the passage of it's just how it goes. That's really just all that it is.
I completely agree. And sometimes, something missing you is just preparing you for the next level or for the
Hmm.
next role. And it's always good to think like that. Like, I know people think like, oh, like, that's very like optimistic or whatever. I'm very optimistic. Like,
Hmm.
because if you just live and breathe in negativity, like, that's
Yep.
the energy is gonna, like, I don't know, energy to
Yup.
me doesn't lie. Like, when you're positive, when you're open, when you're willing to accept things as they are, that's like, I feel like the moment everything starts clicking and things
Hmm.
go into place.
Yep.
So being that you've been in the industry 3 years and you're working on this, aside from like what we just talked about, do you think there's any other like big lessons that you've learned on this journey?
Um, I feel like I feel like especially recently, given how a lot of anime and video game work recently has been mostly remote because of the pandemic, it's very much opening opportunities to a lot of different people that didn't typically have opportunities. Like, I have friends that are in like completely other different areas of the world, and they're making their anime debuts when typically that was only if you were in Texas, LA, or like maybe New York. So it's like now a lot more now you're seeing a bunch of just a bunch of people making strides that kind of get to you in the back of my head. At least I know a lot for me recently. Full stop. I've been seeing a lot of my friends like getting anime roles, and it's just like in my head it's like, well, damn, like I've been doing this for X amount of years, and like this person's been doing it for like 1 year. Like, what am I doing wrong? And it sort of eats at you a little bit. But the thing is that like I think recently patience has been a really big factor as to what I've learned, at least in the past year. Just constantly working and just always sort of trying not to think ahead, I think. And really just reminding myself that, with time, everything comes to you with time. And I think that's probably like the biggest lesson that I've learned this past year. Because, it hurts sometimes when, you think you're doing pretty good and it's like, well, I don't have X or I don't have Y. And I think the more you get stuck in that mentality, the more like, that evil side of you, like the jealousy, the greed. And it's like, putting a curb to that, it's always just humbling yourself and being patient, I think, have probably been the two biggest lessons that I've learned this past year in regards to voice acting.
And I think like everyone, if you're like a creative or something like that, like you go through that because the other side of social media is that you see everybody's wins. So you
Mm-hmm.
may have friends online and you're seeing them, like for me being a content creator, I'm seeing so and so is getting manga sent by Viz or they have this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely relate. And I think too, something that happens that I feel like is not talked about enough is that we immediately view jealousy as like evil, like, oh, you're a
Yeah.
hater if you're jealous on somebody. When that's like jealousy is a very
It's
natural emotion.
it's
And you
normal.
love someone and think that they're amazing. And then it can sting, or you can be a little bit jealous and be like, damn, like, why not me? But the other side of that coin is being online is that they're only posting the positive things. They might not necessarily, like you said, there's so many rejections. They're not posting those rejections, or they're not
Mm-hmm.
posting the amount of emails that get left unread. And it's like that is very important to keep in mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything I think comes to its context. So of
Yeah.
course this person got this audition, but how many auditions did they fail or didn't hear back
Exactly.
on? And it is, or like, like you see like, oh, they've been doing this X amount of time, but it's like, you don't know the back end of,
Mm-hmm.
they might not be doing this exactly, or they might have a different journey. But it's important, I feel like, for people to get open up on that, because the one thing, like you said, is now with remote, anybody can, the barriers to get into voice acting are being lifted in ways
Mm-hmm.
and being transformed. Not that there's still not barriers,
Yeah.
there of course are, but it's like it's important now with so many people wanting to hop on, like, welcome, there's room for everyone, but here's some things to keep in mind so
Mm-hmm.
you're not depressed, heartbroken
Yup.
every single weekend.
Yup. It's
Yeah.
rough. It's a rough industry, but you know, you do it because you love it. Like I wouldn't have been doing this for, the past 3 years if I didn't love it. And I know you hear the same sentiment from, a lot of other like professionals too, because character work at the very least, anime work doesn't pay that well. Like a majority of the industry is severely underpaid, but you see these people continuing to make these strides to get into the industry because they love it, not because of the money, not because of, the niche fame that, anime fans have. It's just, they love the content. They love doing what they do, and that's what keeps them pushing forward. So I feel like that's probably like the one thing that you should have in regards to getting into this industry or any industry in general. It's like you have to have a love for it, or else you're gonna burn out quick, super quick.
Absolutely. And I've interviewed like Robbie Damon, who I'm
Mm.
in love with. And he was saying that on my podcast. Like, he's done anime work and he's also done like Nickelodeon Cartoon Network. And he was like, compared to what those like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon pays, like anime, voice acting definitely doesn't pay as much. But when he loves it, he's gonna continue doing that. And I think
Mm.
too, it's when more people are getting opportunities, like then there's more people to rally for. Let's pay these people more.
Exactly. I know.
I think
I think it's like Ben Diskin and a couple other voice actors that they always blank on my mind, but I know Ben Diskin is a part of this group. I think it's called CODA. It's like the coalition of like increasing the rates for dubbing actors, and it's this big like movement to push for anime work, or at least like anime work and video game work to be more inclusive of like union rates and be more considerate of things like that. And I know like the union's been opening up a lot more, so it's a lot easier to get into union. So you can have that insurance. You can get paid better for the work that you're producing. So I know that there are strides being made. It's a very slow climb up the ladder, but it's a work in progress, like anything else.
yes. And I think, like you said, the more visibility, the more people on there, like it is slow, but people are working on it. And I
Exactly.
think that's important, why it's important to bring awareness of it so that more people can join it and work on it. So I love these conversations because I feel like, I'm personally like never, I used to always want to be an actor, but for some reason, I cannot do voice acting. So a lot of people are like, think that I want to do voice acting. Let me put it on the record. I have no desire. I cannot visually act. But I love these conversations because somebody might be listening and it might be
Mhm.
something that maybe they do want to do part-time. Maybe there's not their like full-time dreams, but it's a hobby or something. And
Yeah.
hearing you, someone who's in college and is doing this kind of freelance, like that might be motivation for them. So I appreciate you talking about this
Of
with me because
course.
I always want to open doors for people and have more people have opportunities. But as we're wrapping up here, what I'm a big believer in putting things in the universe and like manifestation. So if you're comfortable, I would love if you can, the year's wrapping up. What are some of your goals or some kind of things you want to achieve for 2022 when it comes to your voice acting
Oh,
career?
all right. Okay, in terms of 2022, I would love to have a chance to play at least some additional voices or Walla in an anime. That would probably be my big achievement because I would love to see just like a cutesy anime girl and just be like, oh my god, that's me. That I think I think just marketing a lot more, just being able to open up and make more friends within the industry. I think that is like another like side goal. I don't know if we're allowed to manifest for like, the next like 5 or 10 years or so.
Manifest it right now.
Oh, all right, all right. I mentioned it at the beginning, but I would metaphorically give up an arm and a leg to voice one day in a Xenoblade Chronicles game. It is one of my favorite game series of all time. I love it to death. It's unfortunately mostly localized in Europe, and I'm not British, but you know that is just another fence to hop over, and I'm working as hard as I can to get that opportunity, even just to audition for it. Like that would be a dream come true for me.
Listen, they're gonna get some American character on. It's gonna work. We're gonna manifest this.
We're manifesting it.
Yes. So I always love to end my interviews asking, of course, because we're weebs and we love anime. What
Yes.
are you currently watching right now?
Oh God. I am more than halfway through the case study of Vanitas, which has been my big one. I just recently finished Tokyo Revengers. I'm in the process of getting back into Black Clover, because I know the recent season just wrapped up for the dub, and I've been watching exclusively dub because the dub is chef's kiss. I have plans to start Akudama Drive. There's a couple other shows, but I think because I watch them like one by one because I get easily overwhelmed. So Vanitas is like my main one for right now, but once I finish that, I'll probably hop on to Akudama Drive. And then after that, I think there was something else. I think I have Fairy Gone listed on my list on Hulu, and that's another one that I've been interested in. But for right now, I'm just gonna say Vanitas and Black Clover.
I love it. And what is there any upcoming anime like 2022 season winner or like just in general that's going to be coming in the future that you're excited for?
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, please! Oh my god, the trailer dropped, and I was on campus when the trailer dropped. I had to run into the bathroom because I started like going crazy. Oh my god, I'm so ready for that movie, man. I need it. I need it so bad.
I too and I have the manga. I don't have Zero though, but I have like the manga and I haven't read it. I'm anime only. I'm
Mm,
always exclusively anime until the anime is done and
mm-hmm.
then I will read the manga. But I'm so excited for that. And I'm excited for season 2. Like I'm
Oh my
hoping that is announced as
god.
well. Like
I hope, because Mappa's been killing it. Like, oh, just
they've been putting in the work. I hope they're treating their workers better. Please, Mappa, don't be out here being
please,
slimy.
please.
But they've been Chainsaw Man is coming. I'm excited for
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, my friend's trying to get me into Chainsaw Man. I'm waiting for that to go out.
Attack on Titan. Like Mappa's been hitting. I'm also need them. Mappa, this is my plea. Please release the Yuri on Ice adolescence movie. We're season 2. I'm waiting. Yuri on Ice fans are on ice waiting for this.
It's been like 5 years since the first season, right?
I know. Well, I just recently watched it. So I'm late in the game. I saw
Mm-hmm.
it this year, but I think it came out 2018, I think.
Yeah,
So
something like that. It was good.
Mappa,
I
please.
remember watching it.
Please, Mappa, we need this. see the season 2 though, and they're releasing like another. It's like a ballet one, and I'm like, it looks amazing, but throw it in the trash, reanimate it.
Crossing the fingers of the future.
I'm tired of getting my feelings hurt and played. But anyways, I just want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast, even
Thank
though
you for having me.
girl, I was a mess. But we got it here. This has been so much fun, and I'm really hopeful. Like, again, people listening to my listeners, like if you were like, I need a sign to get into voice acting, let this be your sign.
Look, we are always welcoming new people. We just have a passion and a drive for this industry, and we will welcome you with open arms. Hell, if you want, yell at me at Twitter. I will give you any and all voice acting advice that you may or may not need.
Yes, this is also your sign to connect with people on Twitter.
Yes, that too. Connections are everything.
Everything.
You have been listening to the Wonder of Anime podcast, hosted and produced by me, Lisa Della Cruz. This episode was mixed and engineered by Jared Brown at Music is Passion Studios. His links, the links to the guest, and any other topics that we talk about are available in the description box of this episode. If you've enjoyed listening, please be sure to share on social media using the hashtag TWOAPod and at The Wonder of Ivy. Thank you so much for listening.